بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم لا سهلا إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا رب زدني علما اللهم انفعني بما علمتني وعلمني ما ينفعني ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. We start with the name of Allah, and we ask that He makes learning the Quran easy for us. We ask that He increases us in our knowledge, and we ask that He makes the knowledge that He grants us beneficial and useful for us. And we ask that He accepts the small deeds that we are making, small efforts that we are making in His path. Ameen. Yesterday, we went through the first of the vowels. We went through the fatha. I mentioned that the fatha is this line on top of a letter. And what it does is it gives the letter a particular type of sound, okay? So the fatha gives it an a sound. We mentioned that yesterday, that any letter with the fatha will give it an a sound. We also mentioned something regarding the hamza. We mentioned that it's usually on top of the alif. And when the hamza is on top of the alif, then it will take over and it will give it that a sound. We also mentioned with regards to the letter ra, that though the ra is not a heavy letter, it's not part of the 7 heavy letters. If you remember, the 7 heavy letters are kha. So you got kha, sad, dad, ta, dha, not ain, sorry, not ain, dha, ghain, and qaf. So those are the 7 heavy letters. But we mentioned that ra is not part of this group, but when it has a fatha, it will be read heavy. Okay. So inshallah, you'll see today why ra is not part of the heavy letters. Okay. And then after that, I spent a long time talking about the method for practicing. And then after I mentioned that, I read a few words, and then I also called on a few of you guys to just read a few words, inshallah. So that's what we went through yesterday. Alhamdulillah, was a good lesson. As the voice notes that I got sent, I responded to most of them. So the ones that were sent to me before, around noon UK time, those are the ones I responded to. The ones that were sent to me after that time, I wasn't able to get back because I get busy quite later in the day, so I don't have time to respond to any notes that are sent to me after that time. So if you want a response in the same day before, the next lesson, then try to send the voice note as early as you can, maybe in the morning time, or before noon ideally. Then that way, inshallah, I will try my best to respond to you. And if you send it afterwards, so if you sent me a note like around 3 p.m 4 p.m and you didn't get a response, then don't worry, I'll respond to you first thing tomorrow. So the ones that I don't respond to with the homeworks, if I don't get a chance to respond to you that day, then your homework will be the first one I respond to the next day, inshallah. So don't worry about it. It's not, it won't be a problem. So if I haven't responded to you your homework today, then still make sure that you're working on your tomorrow's homework. So tonight's homework, still make sure you spend time working on that if I still haven't responded to you. Sometimes it just takes me a while to get through all of them. So with regards to the method, from the voice notes, I noticed that some of you guys were doing it a little bit incorrectly. So I'm just going to go through the method one more time. The first step is to identify the rules, okay? So I'm just going to pick a random letter, random word. So I'm just going to be looking at this word here. Actually, I'll do a word with more letters. I think that will be better. So this one here. So I'm looking at this word here, okay? So the first step is to identify any heavy letters, okay? So go through the letters and identify any heavy letters. Obviously, as we go through the course, there's going to be more rules. So you're going to identify all the rules that you know of. So for now, it's just going to be heavy letters. So in this word, the only heavy letter is the letter kha. Okay, and what that is going to do is going to do a few things. Number one is it's going to train your brain to start recognizing the rules. Okay, when you take time to look at what you're reading and you mark it down, you mark down everything that you can see, it trains your brain to recognize the rules. It helps you ingrain it into your memory. It helps you, put it into practice. It's gonna really speed up that process. When you have that visual aid with you on the paper, it really makes a huge difference. I can't stress it enough. So make sure that you spend time to mark the rules down before you practice. If you're not doing it already, make sure you start it for tonight's homework. Okay. So that's step one, is to mark all the rules. Okay. Then once you've done that, and once you've identified all the rules that you can see, then what you're going to do is you're going to take it one letter at a time. But for every new letter, you start from the beginning. So what you do is you're going to basically read each letter by itself, okay? But then once you've read it by itself, you start again from the beginning, okay? And then you join everything together one by one. And what that is going to do is when you read the letter by itself, most likely you'll read it correctly, okay? Because it's a lot easier to just read one letter on its own than it is to read one letter amongst a group of letters. So, that's what the practice is for. When you're just practicing the letters by itself, it's much more easier to get the correct sound. It's much more easier to just say Ain by itself than it is to say it within a word, because then there's less things to think about, and your mouth will most likely be able to get it correct, or as correct as you can get it. Okay. Or any of the letters like ha, kha, anything. But when you read it in a word, then you're more likely to make an error because there are other things going on, and your mouth is not used to transitioning from one letter to another. And you're going to see that there are sometimes it's quite difficult to transition from certain letters into other letters, and that's where the practice will come in. So that's why we take it one letter at a time, and we start from the beginning each time, so that if we read a letter one way, just by itself, and then we read it a different way when we put it all together, then that should indicate to us that we've made a mistake and we've gone wrong somewhere. And it should indicate to us that we need to, change that mistake. For example, if I'm reading this word here and I'm reading it like this, I'm going to just read this word. So, wa, na, wa, na, fa, wa, na, fa, kho, wa, na, fa, kho. Now, if I did that, I read something different there. I read the fa incorrect, okay? Because now that I've joined it with the kha, I've made a mistake and I've made the fa heavy, okay? The kha is a heavy letter, but the fa is a light letter. So in doing that mistake, it should automatically, if you make a mistake like that, you should automatically recognize it. You should, recognize that you read it one way last time and you've read it a different way this time. Hang on, I've changed something. What have I done wrong? Okay. Or for example, you might read like this. So you might say wa, na, fa, wa, na, fa, kho, wa, na, fa, kha. Now, what I did there was I read the kha correctly by itself, but then when I joined it all together, I made the kha light. So this is why we, take our time and we do each letter by itself. And then each time we do one letter, we start from the beginning, okay? What you shouldn't do is something like this. So, for example, let's do this word here. So again, first step, identify heavy letters. We have the swad, we have the qaf, okay? So something that I noticed in the voice notes a few brothers were doing is doing it like this. So you were doing sa, da, qa, sa, da, qa, okay? So what you did there was you read each letter by itself, but you didn't go back to the beginning for every new letter. You just read each letter individually, and then you read the whole thing in one go. That's something to avoid. I don't want you guys doing that. Even if you read it correctly, then, as I just did, I read it correctly, but the method was incorrect. And the reason I'm highlighting the method is the point is to build the habit of reading it correctly, following the method now, so that we have the habit of how to practice. When we know how to practice, then we're going to be able to apply that much more easier. If you imagine it I'll give an example with the gym, the brothers who go to the gym and work out a lot. Common advice for beginners is to perfect your form before you apply the heavy weights. Okay, whenever a newbie enters the gym, you'll hear all the veterans tell the newbie, start off with low weights, get the way you're doing the exercise correct first, the method correct first. Make sure you're lifting with the correct form, meaning make sure you're lifting the weight correctly so that you don't injure yourself, because a beginner doesn't know how to lift a weight properly. They've never done it in their life, so they don't know how to do it properly. It's important that they get the method correct. Then once their method is sound, then they can start increasing the weights. So in the same way, it's important to get the method correct first now, so that when we have lots more, many more words involved, it's going to be a lot more easier to handle, inshallah. So this is just something I wanted to highlight. Make sure that you are using the correct method and you're not, skipping anything, or you're not taking shortcuts. So the plan for today's lesson is, inshallah, the plan is to go through these two vowels. Okay. Yesterday we mentioned that we went through the fatha. The plan for today is, hopefully, for the first 20 minutes, I will go through the kasra and the dhamma. And then in the last half of the lesson, we'll go through some words. And then last 5 minutes, I will explain the homework, inshallah. So that's the plan for today. We'll see how we do. So the kasra is the second vowel. We mentioned yesterday that the fatha is the line, this little line, and is on top of the letter. Well, the kasra is the same line, but it's going to be underneath. Okay, so the fatha was on top, and the kasra is going to be underneath. Okay, now the fatha made an ah sound. Okay, every letter with the fatha made that ah sound. Obviously, the heavy letters made more of a or sound. It was a bit more tight. Now the kasra is going to make an e sound. Okay, an e sound. So you're going to read the letter, any letter with a kasra, and you're going to pronounce the makhraj, and then you're just going to put an e sound after it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of these letters, inshallah, and I want everyone to just practice. Obviously, keep your mics muted. So starting with the hamza, this is just simply e. E. Again, don't stretch it. It's a very, very short sound. You're not going to stretch it at all. The ba is going to be b. B. The ta is going to be t. T. Remember to keep the ta nice and light, the tip of the tongue between the gums and the teeth. The tha is going to be thi. Thi. Okay. Again, tip of the tongue touching the tip of the top two teeth. Make sure you're not saying si. Si isn't correct. Make sure you're saying thi. The jim is going to be G. G. The ha, remember, middle of the throat, so it's a quite strong sound, is going to be hi. Hi. Make sure you pronounce that sound, and then you say hi. Hi. It's quite a difficult letter. The brothers who struggle with the letter ha, you have to make sure that you spend time practicing it. Yeah. Hi. Hi. The letter kha is a heavy letter, so we're just going to mark it. And this letter is khi. 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 Okay. The sound comes from the top of the throat. The letter dal is di. 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 And again, this has the same makhraj as the letter ta. The letter dal, again, this is a very, very soft letter, same makhraj as tha. This should roll off your teeth. The tongue should roll off the tip of the top two teeth. The. Very, very light touch. There's barely any contact there. It should be really, really light. If you're putting too much contact there, the sound is going to be much more strong and much more heavy, which we want to avoid. Now we come to the ra. Now you're going to see why the ra is not considered a heavy letter. And the reason why is when the ra has a kasra on it, when the ra has a kasra on it, it's going to be read like a light letter. It will not be heavy. Okay, so the ra with the kasra is ri. 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 Try to just vibrate your tongue there. Ri. So again, the ra with the fatha is heavy. The ra with the kasra is light. The za is going to be z, z, z. The sin is going to be si, si, si. And again, the makhraj is the tip of the tongue touching the bottom two teeth. Yeah. The sheen is going to be she, she, she. And now we come to the letter sad, the second heavy letter. So again, you're going to put lots of pressure on the bottom teeth and slowly release that sound. This is going to be sli, sli, sli. Now again, I'm just going to mention it again. When we're practicing the letters like this, then we want to overemphasize the sound. We won't do the sound so heavily when we're reading the Quran, but we want to overemphasize it now so that it's easier to make the correct sound when we read the Quran. And it's very, very important to get the distinction between sin and sad correct. This sad will, come up in Surah Fatiha, Sirat al-ladhina. So it's important to make sure that you get confident and comfortable with these letters. Yeah. The word is going to be, again, the tip of the tongue, not the tip of the tongue, sorry, the side of the tongue touching the sides of the back teeth. Okay, side of the tongue touching the side of the back teeth. So put your tongue there, put pressure there, and release it and say bui, bui, bui. Okay. The ta, very, very strong letter. Lots of pressure on the makhraj. Same makhraj as ta, but just lots of pressure is going to be tui, tui, tui. Okay. The letter dha, the tip of the tongue touching the tip of the top two teeth. Lots of pressure there, and release it, and it's going to be dhi, dhi, dhi. Okay. As you can see, I'm just marking the heavy letters with a little circle underneath. So when you mark any heavy letters on your practice, the way to mark it is with a circle. And the reason why is because, when we go through other rules, I'm going to give you kind of like a key, a way to mark it. So that way there won't be any confusion. So the way to mark the heavy letters when you practice is just with a little circle underneath that letter. So just make sure that you follow the key that we learn in class, inshallah. It's just going to be a lot more easier as we add more rules to our repertoire. We'll be able to just, mark them much more easily, inshallah. The letter Ain from the middle of the throat is going to be ri, ri, ri. Really try to get that sound from the middle of the throat. It can definitely be quite tricky, but you just have to try your best to, get that sound out. Ri, ri. The letter Ghain, again, a heavy letter, and this is going to be ri, ri, ri. Very similar to Kha. The letter Fa is going to be fi, fi. The letter Qaf, the last heavy letter, is going to be qi, qi. And again, this is from the back end of the mouth and not the throat. Qi, qi. The letter Kaf is going to be ki, ki. Lam is going to be li, li. Mim will be mi, mi. Noon is going to be ni, ni. Ha is going to be he. Now again, this ha is from the bottom of the throat. It should not sound like this ha over here. It should not sound like he. Okay, so make sure that they sound completely different. They need to be very, very different from each other. The ha, this ha at the top, this big one, is from the middle of the throat. It sounds like this he, and this ha from the bottom of the throat is more like a heavy kind of ha. It sounds he, He is literally like you're saying the word he. So make sure that there's no hint of that he sound when you say this ha. The waw is going to be we, and the ya is going to be yi. Okay, so those are the letters. How's everyone feeling at the moment? A 1 if you feel okay with these letters. A 5 if you'd like me to repeat any letters. Which letter would you like me to repeat, brother?
I think mostly the heavy letters. I just
Heavy
don't
letters?
feel competent in them at the moment.
Okay, no worries. I'll go through them, inshallah, yeah? Okay, I'll just go through these. I'll run through the letters one more time, inshallah. And don't worry, the recording will be available too. So, you know, if you want to go through it multiple times, then inshallah, the recording will be available. So just go through them one more time. So we have E, B, T, Th, G, H, again, H, again, H, 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 D, ذ, ر, Z, Si, Shi. Now put your tongue on the bottom of the bottom teeth. Put lots of pressure there, and then release that sound. Si, 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 di, di, di. Again, this is the side of the tongue touching the side of the back teeth. Di, di, di. The dha will be di, di, di. Ain is going to be ri, ri, ri. Ghain is going to be ri, again, top of the throat. Ri, ri. Fa will be fi. Qaf is going to be qi, qi. Kaf will be ki, li, mi, ni, he, we, and yi. Okay, so these are the letters with the kasra. And again, if you do want to repeat particular letters, the recording will be available. What I will also do after this class, maybe tomorrow, inshallah, what I will do is I will send a voice note in the group chat. And what I will do is I'll send a few voice notes, and each one will be basically just a review of what we've done in each class so far. So the first voice note I will send will be all of just the letters. Then the second one will be all the letters with the fatha. The third one will be all the letters with the kasra, and then we're going to go over the dhamma today. So the fourth one will be all the letters with the dhamma. So if you want to just repeat a particular letter, or then you'll have access to these voice notes, inshallah. I will send them in the group chat tomorrow, inshallah. So that will be available. So don't worry if you want to go over one of the letters just a bit extra, then don't worry, this will be available for you, inshallah. Yeah. What I want to mention before I move on is a few things regarding the letters kha, the letter ghain, and the letter qaf with the kasra. So this is just when it's got the kasra. Okay, so from the heavy letters, from the 7 heavy letters, from kha, sad, dad, ta, dha, ghain, and qaf, from the 7, these 3, when they have the kasra on it, they won't be round. What do I mean by that? So when I'm reading sad, dad, ta, and dha with the kasra, listen carefully. It sounds a bit round. It's going to be si, Bui, bui, bui. Okay, there's that bit of a roundness to it. The back end of the tongue is being raised, and that's how we get that roundness. But with the kha, ghain, and qaf, you are not going to do that when it has a kasra. Okay, so you're gonna keep your tongue flat, and you're just gonna say khi, ghi, and qi. Just as long as you pronounce the makhraj correct for the kha, ghain, and qaf with the kasra, you don't need to do anything with your tongue with them. They're still considered heavy letters, but you just don't need to make that roundness, inshallah. So we will still mark them as heavy, but just make a note that kha, ghain, and qaf with the kasra will not be round. Okay, so if you're making notes, just make a note of that, inshallah. So what we've got about half an hour left. So what I'm going to do is, before I go through words, I'm going to spend, I'll try to go over the dhamma first. I want to go over the dhamma, and then we'll spend maybe 20 minutes going over words with kasra and dhamma. Okay. So now we've gone over two. We've gone over fatha. The fatha is that little line on top, and it makes the a sound. Now we've also gone over kasra now, and kasra is the little line underneath. It's the same line, but it's just underneath the letter, and it will make the e sound. So you got a and e. Now the dhamma is, it looks like this. It's kind of like a sideways wow, actually. Okay, it looks like this, and it's going to be on top of the letter. So fatha is on top, kasra is on bottom, dhamma will also be on top. Okay, now the dhamma, whenever it's on top of a letter, is going to give it an oo sound. Okay, oo sound. So I've done u, but you can imagine it like o as well, maybe like a. I don't want to do two o's because that's going to stretch it. So that's why I'm just going to use u for now as the example. So it makes a oo sound. So you kind of just bring your lips together really close, but obviously don't make them touch, and you're going to get that oo sound. So you're going to pronounce the letter with the correct makhraj, and you're going to make an oo sound after it. Yeah. Yeah. So kind of like ou. Yeah. Kind of like, ou if you want. That might be ow. I don't know. But basically, it's just an oo sound. So however you want to spell it in English is up to you. But it's just an oo sound. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll go through each of these letters, how they sound with the dhamma, and inshallah after that we'll get to some practice. So starting off with the hamza, again the dhamma is this little sideways wow, okay, and it's going to be on top of the letter. So this is simply going to be oo, oo, and again you don't stretch it. It's a very, very short sound, very, very short. So it's just oo. The ba is bu, bu, bu. The ta is tu. And again, brothers, if you want me to repeat a letter like straight away, you don't need to wait for me to finish. Just ask Ustad, can you please repeat that letter a few times? If you want me to repeat a particular letter at any moment, just let me know. Don't worry about it. It's completely fine. So the ta is going to be tu, tu, tu. The tha, again, make sure that you're touching just the tip of the top two teeth. Thu, thu, thu. The letter jim is going to be ju, ju, ju. Be sure to keep it short. Yeah, make sure you're not saying ju like that. Don't stretch it. It's just going to be ju. Now the ha, again, from the middle of the throat. Hu, hu. Really try your best to emphasize that sound. That's gonna, when you overemphasize the sound in practice, then when we read it in words, it's gonna be much, much more easier. Hu, hu, hu. You have to take a deep breath for the ha, because the sound, it takes out a lot of breath from you when you're overemphasizing it. So take a deep breath each time you say it. Hu. The kha is a heavy letter, so we're just gonna mark it. Khu, Khu, khu. The letter dal is going to be du, du, du. Okay. The letter dal, again, make the sound really, really light. The reason why I'm emphasizing the dal a lot is because my ustad, he used to emphasize it a lot in me, because I used to have this problem where I used to touch about 4 teeth with my tongue when I used to say the dal. My tongue used to be really, really flat when I used to read the dal, and it ended up sounding like this. It sounded like val. It sounded really, really strong and heavy. And even though I wasn't making it heavy, just because my tongue used to touch so many teeth, my ustad used to say that I'm reading it incorrectly. You should only try and touch 2 teeth. So if you're touching too many teeth, if it sounds too heavy, then the fix for that is get a mirror or a front-facing camera and check how many teeth your tongue is touching. You have to try and make your tongue into a little tip, and then just roll it off the teeth, and it should sound like this. Dhu, dhu, dhu. Very, very soft. Now the ra, we come to the ra. We mentioned that with the fatha, the ra is heavy. With the kasra, the ra is light. Now with the dhamma, the ra is going to be heavy. So just a note on the side, ra with fatha and dhamma is going to be heavy, and the ra with the kasra is going to be light. Okay, so this is why when I mentioned the ra a few days ago, that it's not part of the heavy letters. This is why when it has a fatha or a dhamma, it's heavy, and when it has a kasra, it's light. So it's not going to be heavy all the time it's read. That's why we don't consider it part of the heavy letters. The other 7 heavy letters, they are going to be heavy all the time. That's why we consider it part of the heavy letter group. But the ra is not heavy. Only when it has a fatha or a dhamma, it will be heavy. So ra is going to be ru, ru, ru. Okay. The za is going to be zu, zu. Sin is going to be su, su. Sheen is going to be shu, shu. Now we come to the sad, heavy letter. Now think about how you said the sin, and then think about how you're going to say the sad. These 2 letters need to sound different. So say su again, and then try and say the sad and see if it sounds different. If it sounds the same, or if it sounds too similar, then that means you have to work on your sad. So su, and the sad is going to be su, su. And the way we get that strong sound is putting lots and lots of pressure on the teeth. Lots and lots of pressure on the bottom teeth. Push your tongue against there and release it slowly. Su, su. And again, we overemphasize the point so that when we read it in the Quran, we're not going to read it that heavily in the Quran. We're not going to put that much strength into it when we read the Quran. It's going to be unrealistic to do it like that every single time. And it doesn't even sound nice as well if you put too much emphasis on it. But we're overemphasizing it so that the sound will be easier to make when we read the Quran. So again, su, su, su. The letter dad is going to be, again, side of the tongue, touching the side of the back teeth. Du, du, du. The letter ta, heavy letter again. Tip of the tongue touching between the gums and the top 2 teeth. Lots of pressure there. Tu, tu, tu. And again, just like the sin and the sad, just like these 2, the ta needs to sound distinct from the ta. So just listen to how you say ta, tu, and listen to how you say ta, tu. They should sound different. Your tongue should touch the same place. Your tongue is touching the same place for both of these. Okay. But the only difference is with the ta, you're basically not putting too much pressure on, and with the ta, you're putting lots of pressure on. So that's how you should know if you're doing the ta correctly. If your tongue is touching the same place and it sounds, distinct, then your ta is okay.
Can you just say those 2 again? I just want to hear the comparison.
Yeah. So ta is tu, and tu, 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 tu. So you should feel that pressure when you say the ta. You should feel the pressure build up as you say the tu. You should feel that pressure against the teeth, inshallah. Yeah. The dha, I'm going to link the dha to the dal. Your tongue is going to touch the same place for both of these, but just like the way the dal is very light, the dha is going to be very, very heavy, very heavy. So you're going to put lots of pressure on the tip of the top two teeth, just the top two teeth, and say vu, vu, vu. Okay. And again, you want to avoid that Z sound. So a lot of people say zal and za. If there's a hint of that za sound, if you're saying zu, zu, so it might be halfway between zu and zu. If it's halfway between, then that's still incorrect. You should only touch the top two teeth. If you touch just the top two teeth, the sound will inshallah be correct. Okay, so make sure that you only touch the top two teeth for the letter za and zal. The ain, middle of the throat, is going to be ru, ru. Get the ain sound out. Ru. The ghain is going to be, again, it's a heavy letter, is going to be ru, ru. So if you're unable to do ghain, link it with the kha. Practice kha. Kha is a little bit easier than ghain, in my opinion, because kha is something that you might be used to just doing when you brush your teeth, or I don't know, something like that. You get that sound, and then as you do that, just transition to going from khu to ru, khu, ru, khu, ru, and that's how you're going to get the correct ghain sound. It might take a bit of practice, but inshallah you'll get it. The fa is going to be fu, fu, and the qaf, the last of the heavy letters, is going to be qu, qu, qu. Very, very important to get this down, inshallah. Make sure that you practice the qaf if you can't do it. Qu. The kaf is going to be ku. Lam is going to be lu. Mim will be mu. Noon is going to be nu. Ha is going to be hu. And again, make sure it's not like hu. It should be just like you're saying who, like who's there, who, that kind of who. Yeah. The wow is going to be woo, 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 and the ya is going to be you, you. Okay, so those are all the letters with the dhamma. The dhamma makes that oo sound. So alhamdulillah, we've gone through the kasra and the dhamma now. We've got about 20 minutes left. So what I would like to do for 15 minutes, inshallah, is go through a few words, inshallah, go through some practice. Maybe if there's time, call on a few people to read. I wanted to mention something, but it's just slipped my mind. Inshallah, I'll remember it if it's important. So yeah, so we've got about 15 minutes to go through some practice. So what I'll do is I'll spend maybe 5 minutes on practicing some letters with the kasra, and then 5 minutes on practicing some with the dhamma. So the kasra, again, we're gonna just follow the method. So make sure that before you attempt the word, you identify any heavy letters. So far, that's still the only rule we know. So the 7 heavy letters, and then also keep in mind the ra. The letter ra will be heavy when it has a fatha and a dhamma, but it will be light when it has a kasra. So whenever you see the letter ra, just slow down and check. Okay, with the 7 heavy letters, you can just put circles straight underneath it. But whenever you get to the ra, make sure you slow down and check it, double check it. Okay. So if you do want to read, just put your hand up, inshallah. What I'll do is I'll do maybe 1 or 2, and then I'll call on a few people. So I'll do this first one here. So we have the ta is the heavy letter. So this is going to be ha, bi, habi, ta, habi, ta. Okay. I'll do one more, and then I'll call on a few people, inshallah. So this one here, the ra is the heavy letter here. Okay, we said that slow down on the letter ra. So here, this ra has a fatha, so it's going to be heavy. And the other letters are fine. So listen carefully. I'm going to start from the beginning each time I add a new letter. So wa, ra, wa, ra, tha, wa, ra, tha, ti, wa, ra, tha, ti. Okay. So Zio's raised their hand, and inshallah I'll call you to read. I'm not sure your name. Holmes iPhone. Would you like to read?
Yes, my brother. Which
Um,
one would you like me to go for?
Try. We'll do maybe a few, inshallah. Try this one.
Ra.
So talk me through the steps. Are there any heavy letters?
On that one, I believe the Ra has just got a zabar above it.
Yep, fantastic.
So Ra, he, Rahi, ma, Rahima.
That was good, mashallah. Just the ha pronunciation needs a bit of work, so try and say again. So just try just the ha by itself. Try and say
He,
ha
ha,
again. Ha.
ha, ha,
Now try say hi
he,
again. Hi.
he.
And now try the word again. But when you say the ha, put as much emphasis as you can on it. So again.
Ra, he, ma, Rahima.
So what you want to do is start from the beginning each time you do it. So again.
So it's Ra, he, Rahi, ma, Rahima. So altogether it would be Rahima.
Good, mashallah. I think the ha just needs a bit of work. Don't worry, it's gonna take time, inshallah. But make sure that you spend time practicing the letter ra, inshallah. Yeah, the ha, inshallah. Yeah. Try this one here.
So it'd be fa.
Are there any heavy letters?
The kaf, the second one.
So this is fa.
Oh, sorry, is it a fa?
Yep.
The first one. I believe the first one.
So they're both fas actually.
Are they?
Yeah.
We're going for the ain.
Ain is not heavy. So this one actually doesn't have any heavy letters. Yeah. So
No.
fa, za, and ain. None of them are heavy, so there won't be any heavy letters in this one. A bit of a trick question I did to throw you off a bit.
Yeah, because
so don't worry about it. It's just something that we have to make sure that we check and double check. Sometimes you know that there's no heavy letters, but you just want to check. So you know, begin.
so it's fa, 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 fa. Then it's z, fa, fa, z, and then ain, which is ah, fa, fa, z, ah.
So try and get the ain out. So fa zi'a.
Fa, fa, z, ah.
MashaAllah, much better. So you can say ain. So brother, you can say ain quite well. Not perfect, but is pretty much there. I'd say about 70% there. So the ha and the ain come from the same place. They both come from the middle of the throat. So if you can say ain, then inshallah, with a bit of practice, you will find the ha a lot more easier. So the way I'll tell you to practice is practice both of these together, and inshallah it'll be a lot more easier for you. Jazakallah khair, brother.
No worries. Jazakallah.
Brother Saeed, would you like to have a go?
Yeah. Which one?
So let's try this one, inshallah. So talk me through the steps.
Okay, the first letter, that looks like that is a heavy one.
Yes.
The second letter is also a heavy one.
Yep.
So you give me a hard one. Okay. Ra, di, ra, di, ya, ra, di, ya.
That was good. Now, when you say it, try to make sure there's no pauses between the words. So try and say all fluidly. Instead of saying radiya, try and say radiya.
Okay. You want me to say it again in one go?
Yep.
Radiya,
Again, radiya.
radiya.
So that pause, that little pause between the letters, try to basically not pause your voice. So try and say all in one go. So instead of saying radiya, like where there's that pause between your voice, where your voice stops saying anything, try and just say radiya, so your voice doesn't pause.
I think I'm thinking on the side of the first letter, second letter to get my tongue in the right position.
Yeah.
Radiya.
Yeah. I think it's just going to take a bit of practice, inshallah. Yeah. But you are right, it is a difficult one. So inshallah, with practice, you'll get it. Yeah. Jazakallah khair, brother.
No worries.
Let's see who's got their hand up. Brother Nagi, would you like to have a go?
Yeah.
Let's see. Try doing this one.
Okay. The heavy letter is the ta in the middle. So it'll be
Any others?
oh, and then the kha in the beginning.
Yep.
So it'll be kha, so khadi. No. Yeah, khati, khatifa.
So you read the word correctly, but just with the method, when you start a new letter, read the letter by itself and then read it from the beginning. So you want to go.
Oh, okay.
So read the ta by itself, then go khati, then the fa by itself, then say khatifa. So again.
So kha, then ti, so khati, and then fa, khatifa.
MashaAllah. Try doing this one here.
Okay, so the heavy letters, va and ha is not a heavy letter, is it?
No, ha is not heavy.
Okay. So it'll be ha, and then fi, hafi, va, hafida.
So your va, try to make it a bit more, put your tongue a bit more low. So it sounded too much like the. You want to say hafidha. Try again.
Hafida.
MashaAllah, much better, yeah. We'll try some with the dhamma. Do one more with you, brother. So try doing, this one's going to be a bit of a tricky one.
Okay.
This one.
So the heavy letters are ta and ain.
Ain is not heavy.
Oh no, okay, not ain. So it will be two, then ti, two ti, two ti'i.
MashaAllah, well read. Just make sure that you say the ain by itself first and then do it all together, yeah?
Okay.
So, MashaAllah, really well read. Jazakallah khair, brother. Let's see who else. Brother Jeffrey.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Would you like to read a word?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Try doing, pick a difficult one. This one. I'm only picking difficult ones for you guys. So try this one.
And
So talk me through the steps.
yeah, heavy letter is su.
Good.
And okay, suhu.
So just the su by itself, and then the ha.
Su. Hu. Suhu. Fi. Suhu. Fi.
Try to make the ha a bit more strong. So suhufi.
Suhufi.
Much better. So that's just,
Suhufi. Yeah.
mashallah, really well read. So you can do the ha. Just take note to make sure that you emphasize it. We'll do another one. Try this one here. I know it might be a bit difficult to read it because of that thing. Well, again, just talk me through the steps.
Yeah. Heavy letter is tu.
Good.
Okay. Fa. Tu. Fatu. Bi. Fatu bi. Hi. Sorry. Ha. Fatu bi ha.
So this is the letter
Fatu bi
Ain.
a.
Yep. So
Fatu bi
again,
a. Fatu
So-
bi a.
mashallah, well read. Jazakallah khair, brother. Fantastic.
No problem. Yes. Okay. Jazakallah.
Okay, got time for one more. Brother Sabri.
Yes.
Let's do this one is a nice one. Try this one.
Okay, the heavy letters are okay. That's the part I always have a problem with. Vu, vu,
Yep.
and yeah, that's only heavy letter.
Will the ra be heavy?
No, this is kasra, so
Yes.
it will be soft
Very good.
or light. So, tu,
So put what you do is put your tongue, side of the tongue on the side of the back teeth, and try and say like this. Du.
vu,
Good.
vu, ri, ba, ba.
Mashallah, mashallah. Fantastic. Really well read, brother. We'll try one more. Try. There are a lot of good choices here. Try this one here.
So the heavy letters are that's Ghain, and yeah, that's it.
Yep.
So Ru, Li, Ruli, sorry, Ruli, Ba, Ruli Ba, Tri, sorry, Tri, Ruli Ba Tri.
Mashallah, fantastic. Just the ta was a little bit too
Yeah,
strong.
heavy. Yeah, I try to. Yeah.
Try again.
Ruli Ba Tri.
Try to make the lam a bit more lighter. So not ruli, but ruli.
Ruli Ba Tri.
So your lam, you're putting a bit too much emphasis on it. Try to just say li.
Li. Ruli Ba Tri.
Mashallah, fantastic. That was really well read. Jazakallah khair, brother. Don't have time for any more, but I have remembered what I wanted to say before when I was when I forgot what I wanted to say. I've remembered what I wanted to say. So common mistakes, okay, especially with the kasra and the dhamma. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on to the kasra first. So we got 5 minutes left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go through these 2 common mistakes to avoid, and then I'm going to explain the homework and what to do over the weekend, inshallah. So a common mistake with the kasra is instead of saying e, people might say e. So for example, lillahi ma fis, like they might say like that, is because they're reading quickly. So instead of saying lillahi ma fis samawat, they might say lillahi ma fis sama, like that. they make a instead of saying E, and that's incorrect. You want to make sure you avoid doing that. Make sure that your kasra is a clear E sound. So this word, you might find people, instead of saying radifa, they might say radifa. It's a very subtle sound. It's a very subtle difference, but it's one that you want to avoid because it's not going to sound nice when you read the Quran like that. Okay. And with regards to the dhamma, instead of saying u, you'll have people saying o. So they'll say o instead of saying u. So for example, this word here, instead of saying hushira, they might say hushira. So just they made both the dhamma and the kasra incorrect. So instead of saying hu and she, you might say, you might find people saying ho and she. So you might say hoshira, and that's incorrect. And the reason why it becomes like that is numerous reasons. One is they might just be reading too quickly and they're not recognizing it. Or number two, more commonly, is they have difficulty reading the letter correctly, and because of that, it comes out, the dhamma itself will come out incorrect. They might read the letter correct, but the dhamma will come out incorrect. So these are two common mistakes to avoid when you practice, inshallah. Now we've got a 3-day break. We've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. This is not days off for you guys. We mentioned that the course is intense, so you have to practice every day. Okay, if you want to see a good improvement, practice every single day. So don't leave a day out where you're not practicing. Okay, this is my sincere advice to you all. But don't leave a day out where you don't practice. Okay, homework is going to be practicing all the words up until page 25. Okay, so practice words with the kasra, practice words with the dhamma, and then send me seven voice notes of a few from each. Okay, 7 voice notes of a few from each, some with kasra, some with dhamma. Or if you want to, just on this last page, on page 25, you got a nice mix of, you know, both dhamma and kasra, so you can maybe just send me a few from here. Just like last time, send it with the picture, send it with after you've marked on it as well, and after you've spent time practicing. Okay, also every single day, make sure that you are practicing letters that I've told you to practice. Meaning, if you've sent me a homework and I've mentioned that your ha is incorrect, or your sad is incorrect, or your ain is incorrect, or whatever letter, if I've mentioned that you need to practice this letter, then every day you have to spend at least 10 minutes practicing that letter. The more time you spend practicing it, the better it will be for you. The quicker you will progress. So I'm saying 10 minutes, but ideally you want to practice 20 minutes per letter. So if you have 4, 2, 3, or 4 letters that you have to work on and practice, spend about 10, 15, 20 minutes on each letter. That way you're going to see a lot of progress. If you don't spend time practicing, you will not see progress. Okay, so number 1 is practice the words, and number 2 is practice making that foundation strong. If you're struggling with a few letters, make sure you spend time practicing. My advice is practice the letters first. Spend time practicing pronouncing the letters first, just by itself, and then spend time on the words, inshallah. That's going to make it a lot more easier when you read the words to read it correctly. Now, with regards to timing, make sure that you dedicate time for practice. Obviously, the weekend is going to come. You might find yourself being busy, or even if you're not busy, you might find shaitan just distracting you. So my advice is plan a time where you're going to read, and the best time is around salah. So the best time is after one of the daily prayers, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, any of them, or even around multiple. So if you want to do it after Fajr and after Isha, so at the start of the day and at the end of the day, that's a fantastic thing to do. That's what I do with myself personally. When I read Quran, I read at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. So that way, it doesn't really take time out of my day, but I find time to put it inside my schedule. So make sure you schedule time for practice. Otherwise, what's going to happen is shaitan's going to come and he's going to distract you from it, and you'll find yourself at the end of the day and you're going to think, oh no, I didn't practice today. So this is something to avoid, and the best way to avoid it is to just make sure that you schedule time for dedicated practice. Okay. So inshallah on Monday I will see everyone again. On Saturday, Friday and Saturday, try to send me a voice note by Saturday. You don't have to send it on Friday. Practice on Friday if you want, and then try to send me the voice notes for the homework on Saturday. That way I will have all of Sunday to just get back to everyone, inshallah. Also, if you've missed a lesson or if you've missed a homework, use the weekend to just catch up on all of it, inshallah. Make sure that you're keeping up with everything, because as the weeks go on, things are going to get more and more intense. Use this time to make the foundation as strong as possible. I can't emphasize it enough that getting the letters correctly pronounced is the most difficult thing in this course. If you can read the letters correctly, then you've done 80% of the work. The rest of it's going to come easily. But if there's 1 or 2 letters or 3 or 4 or more letters that you can't do or you're having difficulty with, use the time now to get it perfect, because then that way everything will be easier in the future, because you're going to have more time now, because there aren't many rules we're going over. We're just going over vowels and things like that. So it's going to be a lot more easier to work on them. So that's my advice for you before I leave for the weekend. So inshallah, I'll see everyone on Monday. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Brother, sorry to disturb you. Brother, you want 14 voice note or just Kasra and Dhamma 7 like that? Is it or only 7?
You know what? Send 5 and 5. So send 10 and 5 from
10.
each.
5 and 5, yeah? Okay.
5 and 5, inshallah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khairan. Okay.
If you got any more questions, just ask me in the group chat, or you can send me a private message, inshallah. Yeah.
No problem. No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.